hung in the balance. The tough job of carrying the house forward fell to the designer's closest collaborator, his grief-stricken sister, Donatella. We now make our way to the legendary Ritz Hotel. Knowing the importance Versace placed on haute couture and the skill required to create it, Donatella delayed her first couture show until now. In fact, she's not even been back to Paris since their final days together here last summer. Many of Donatella's friends turned out to show their support, including actress Melanie Griffith.
I love her. I love her, and I think she's gone through such a hard time, and she is so strong. And her creations now by herself are incredible. And I think probably Johnny's looking out for her.
Rap star Puff Daddy.
She's been involved in all the stuff. It's not like all of a sudden she's just taking it over. She's been involved in Versace and the design for all of these years, so she just has to carry the torch.
With the tension building and more of Donatella's high-voltage friends arriving, we can only imagine her feelings.
I'm very scared because it's a very important audience tonight. And I'm very scared also. I'm very emotional thinking of my brother. Last year, like now, was the last show. It was in Paris, and it's the same place where I'm showing the couture tonight. And I think it's a very good way to celebrate him at the same time.
And now, for the first haute couture collection ever by Donatella Versace.
We asked Donatella what inspires her.
Sound is very important for my work. And I get inspiration from real life, especially. I think real life is full of great inspiration.
The room where Versace shows is not just any room at the Ritz, it's the swimming pool. The house has taken over the most exclusive pool in town and covered it with a magnificent set shipped in from Milan. Well, Isabella, the show seemed to go well. The audience started applauding even with the first dress.
I am sure even the model sensed what an important show it was for Donatella, and what a relief it must be. One designer who has certainly played a part in the modern-day renaissance of couture
is Jean-Paul Gaultier. Best known for his spectacular collaboration with Madonna from those conical corsets for her Blonde Ambition tour to the billowing creations in her last video. More than any other designer today, Gaultier has fun with fashion. His sly sense of humor can be seen in his work for the cinema, including the futuristic fantasies he created for last summer's hit movie, The Fifth Element.
And he's having just as great a time with Haute Couture. He's even come up with Haute Couture ensembles for men. So let's go over to Paris' left bank, to a turn-of-the-century townhouse that has sat vacant for years for Jean-Paul Gaultier's Fall Couture collection.
That collection is about what it was supposed to be, elegance, Parisian elegance. So it is different type of woman. I try to make it very much like couture is supposed to be. It means very unique and for special women. So I show different type of women. I try to make it very couture and with detail, not so much shocking. I didn't try also to make too retro and too much nostalgic. I think I try to make it contemporary, and I think it is.
I give you kisses in the secret places, miles and miles and miles. Your profile like an Egyptian queen, the best looking man I've ever seen. I give you kisses in the secret places. The best looking man I've ever seen.
It's great to see Jean-Paul inspired this season by La Femme Française. He really is the most French couturier working today.
Now we go from the edgy brilliance of Jean-Paul Gaultier
to one of the classic French houses, Givenchy. Hubert de Givenchy opened his own couture house in 1952. Screen star Audrey Hepburn talked the world about his work, making one message clear: the Vert de Givenchy was all about simple, refined elegance.
Since Givenchy's retirement, the house has been taken over by someone who couldn't be more different. 29-year-old Alexander McQueen grew up in the working-class East End of London, where his father drives a taxi. When he was still only a teenager, McQueen began working as a tailor's apprentice on prestigious Savile Row and quickly became the brightest star in British fashion.
His style ranges from tailored suits that show his Savile Row training to dangerously low-slug pants he calls bumpsters. His shows have been filled with spectacular imagery: Joan of Arc, the urban jungle, a rain-soaked runway, and everything McQueen touches comes with that in-your-face attitude of the London streets.
And although that's exactly why he was hired at Givenchy, the French fashion establishment didn't quite know what to make of Monsieur McQueen. His first two couture collections, last January's tongue-in-cheek tribute to opera diva Maria Callas, followed by last summer's aggressive mixing of cultures from around the globe, left many even more puzzled. But this January, things became much clearer. On the outskirts of Paris, in a poetic setting like an enormous Japanese Zen garden, McQueen showed that Givenchy can be beautiful and provocative.
Now let's go to an exquisite 19th century circus, Le Cirque d'Hiver, for Alexander McQueen's latest couture collection for Givenchy.
I'm quite eclectic in the way I design, so I don't know, I like hands-on. I can't sit back and sort of point and do this. I really have to get stuck in. I don't believe in can't or cannot. I think everything's possible, and we'll strive until fingers bleed. You know, I have to go with the flow, and it's not 1939 anymore. This is like nearly 1999, so get with it. I think any design today is about capturing the time, and the time today for me is that kind of heroic beauty with that cutting-edge feeling. It's kind of avant-garde, it's kind of new art wave movement, it's kind of a woman speaking for herself, and they're not really dictators anymore. It's quite strong. I've always liked my women strong, but since I've been working for Givenchy, I've softened up quite a lot. So, but still keeping that edge.
Wow, what a collision between fashion and theater, huh? Now let's join Isabella in our interview studio.
Welcome, Marit Hopfer. She's the fashion director of Elle magazine. We've just seen Jean-Paul Gaultier and Alexander McQueen for Givenchy. What can we learn from their collections?
In the case of Alexander McQueen for Givenchy, he brought us to, Princess Anastasia, who goes to the Amazon. And so that in itself had everything from Russian broadtail fur, embroidered and beaded, to, frock coats in cut-out lace, and all these different ideas. And then you also see the reality of where he wants his collection to go for ready-to-wear, with these drop-waist silhouette that he has just created and is very fond of and very proud of. And you see it in suits, you see it in coats, you see it in dresses, and it's his most wearable silhouette. So as much as there is the fantasy of couture, there's also the reality.
What about Jean-Paul Gaultier?
He took everything from the standard Fair Isle sweater and paired it with a big ball gown skirt in plaid mohair. And now a Fair Isle sweater, you say, how is that couture? It's supposed to be the highest quality. And the Fair Isle sweater has 1,000 hours of embroidery. Then he'd make a nod to past Parisian celebrities, like Josephine Baker or Brigitte Bardot. And that was sort of celebrating the past, but also moving towards the future. So,
thank you so much, Mary.
You're welcome.
Next up are two designers who make some of the most beautiful women in the world almost impossibly beautiful. Valentino, whose star-studded claimed lace has ranged from Elizabeth Taylor to Sharon Stone, and Emmanuel Ungaro, whose signature style is a mix of prints, patterns, and sensuality. It is no stretch to call it the most famous avenue in the world. The Champs-Élysées leads majestically from the Place de la Concorde to the Arc de Triomphe. Like an unbelievable Grand Main Street, the Champs-Élysées is the symbolic heart of the city. Crowds automatically assemble here for the most important occasions, such as the annual Bastille Day Parade, where tanks roll down the avenue and planes sweep down from the sky. When France won the World Cup of Soccer a few weeks ago, more than 1 million delirious citizens flooded onto the Champs-Élysées, the largest such outpouring since the liberation. The next designer we'll be seeing is an Italian named after a star of the silent screen, Valentino. Italian fashion had never had an international superstar until Valentino founded his house in the 60s. It was during some of the wildest days in Rome's long history, that glamorous era known as La Dolce Vita, and Valentino quickly added his own kind of excitement.
His elegant, refined work won him the dedication of clients ranging from such stars as Elizabeth Taylor to high society swans such as Babe Paley. But his most spectacular client and close friend was Jackie Kennedy. When the former First Lady wore a Valentino gown for her wedding to Aristotle Onassis, she turned Valentino the designer into a household name and paved the way for future generations, from Sharon Stone to Isabella Rossellini.
And now let's go back to the historic Place Vendôme, just across from the Hotel Ritz, to Valentino's brand new Paris headquarters for his latest couture collection.
I want to do something very relaxed, not extremely tight, easygoing. The coat and the skirt and the blouse, they are very casual, but of course in precious material, beautiful cuts, beautiful embroidery. So all together is very haute couture.
I love the way the textile moves.
Yes.
It's like a dance.
Yes. This is the way way I love to dress.
This is the way I wish I could dress.
Haute couture with beautiful embroidery, beautiful fur, sable, chinchilla and everything. It's quite rich. The silhouette is very casual, and this I am very proud of this. Haute couture must be a lady, she must be very elegant, and she can wear haute couture things for a long, long time. This sort of casual, chic, very precious. Everything costs a fortune, but anyway, I can tell you lots of young girls and young boys, they want to go back to be dressed nicely. I always love to dress women very, very much. And I've always been very concerned about women's beauties. So I tried in all my career to make women looking smashing and beautiful. Haute couture is a dream. We give dreams to everybody.
Oh boy, you really understand why everyone loves Valentino, huh?
Yes, you do. I think when you see this great clothing, you forget the theater. You just want to have them.
True. They're all an Academy Award dress, you know?
Absolutely.
Oh, is that smashing. You can really tell he loves the femininity of women.
Yes, and there's always this incredible simplicity and great glamour.
Our next collection is from Emmanuel Ungaro, another designer who has dazzled the fashion world for more than 3 decades. Ungaro began working with one of this century's most important designers, Balenciaga. Throughout his career, Ungaro has sent one clear message. This Isabella is a designer who is in love with women's sensuality.
Let's go to the famous fine art school, l'École des Beaux-Arts, where Emmanuel Ungaro is taking over the dramatic sculpture hall that is longer than a football field to present his full collection.
Freedom. The main word is freedom. Everything is free. You know, for the jackets are free, the dress are very, very liquid. Everything is done that way. Because I'm convinced that the women love to be free.
That's a silhouette he's very much known for, isn't it?
Yes.
Great color, huh?
Beautiful. They seem to be very comfortable to wear. And you were saying that he's one of these designers who clearly loves women. But what do you expect? He's an Italian who was raised in south of France. Who could be more Latin than that? I also like the choice of makeup. There are other things than clothes that one should look at in a collection. The hair, the makeup, it can inspire us to do newer shapes with our face. The eyebrows here are quite interesting. Our next designer is a young man who spent more than a dozen years as the assistant to Hubert de Givenchy. Dominique Serrault presented his first couture collection on his own last January and quickly developed a following for clients craving a wearable kind of couture.
This dashing designer has a fascinating and totally unique way of working. In his new studio on the Rue Saint-Honoré, Dominique designs on miniature wooden mannequins. He uses the little forms to work out the lines of an ensemble. The one he's creating now is a crepe cocktail dress with crystal pearl beading.
The results then spring to life in his show, which is held this season at the Paris Fashion Museum, the Palais Galeria, Here, as you see, is the same cocktail dress. And there is one of Dominique's clients who spotted what looks to be one of the designer's dresses of the season.
Immediately after the show, Dominique has his clients back to his studio for the first of many fittings. Here he is with his beautiful young client, Mahasti Bessin, for the first of several fittings and the final step in the life of this Dominique Serrault ensemble.
Coming up next, the designer who revolutionized the world of fashion with its remarkable sense of theater and the house that gave him the means to do it, Christian Dior by John Galliano. The Avenue Montaigne is simply the most famous fashion avenue in the world. Named after the renowned Renaissance philosopher, the Avenue Montaigne stretches from the Champs-Élysées to the Seine. There are more than 50 important luxury boutiques lining the mile-long avenue, making it one of the world's most intense concentrations of glamour.
And now we're going to go to one of the most legendary French houses.
And the designer that put the Avenue Montaigne on the fashion map, Christian Dior. About half a century ago, a shy, little-known, middle-aged designer changed the face of international fashion. Christian Dior's first collection, for spring 1947, featured a refined, narrow-waisted, full-skirt silhouette that was dubbed the New Look. It was nothing less than a sensation. He quickly became the favorite designer for some of the best-dressed women in the world, including Marlene Dietrich, Eva Gardner, the Duchess of Windsor, as well as my mother, Ingrid Bergman.
The house was soon responsible for more than half of all French fashions sold in the world, and Monsieur Dior became the first designer ever to make the cover of Time. Dior managed to transcend the world of fashion with the controversy caused by his design, making him something of a social phenomenon. From anger about all the yards of fabric needed for his early creations to outrage over the radical changes he insisted on making every season, the world followed every move at the House of Dior. In a 1953 interview with Edward R. Murrow, Dior discussed some of the violent reaction that his work stirred up.
I've heard so many different things. I've been hanged, killed, boiled, burned, I don't know, arrested. And I may read you some letters I received. That's from a lady in New Jersey. She said, Mr. Dior, I must tell you that I think you are a doll, a God sent to us women for the happiness you bring us with your wonderful creation.
Murrow then asked if all his fan mail was so positive.
That's a part of a letter from a man in Topeka, Kansas. He said, another thing, Dior, if you ever put your foot in Topeka, you bum, I'll beat your brains in.
The designer clearly had his provocative side, and he can even be considered a pioneer for what we're seeing tonight. In 1953, when high fashion was even more of a closed world than it is today, Dior brought television cameras in the Couture house. Here he is, that season, in front of the still new invention, La Télévision. While he took plenty of chances, what will Monsieur Dior, who died in 1957, make of the designer now following his footsteps?
John Galliano exploded onto the British fashion scene in 1984, injecting fantasy back into fashion. By the time he'd moved to Paris earlier this decade, the designer was presenting some of the most theatrical collections ever seen.
When the revered house of Christian Dior picked John Galliano as its latest designer, it raised more than a few fashionable eyebrows. His first Dior collection last year brought together a young designer's vivid imagination with the deep pockets of the House of Dior. It was a match made in heaven.
And this season, the designer is traveling to a busy train station on the east end of Paris, where he's taken over a real platform and even brought in vintage trains.
the sense of traveling is very glamorous, I think. So, and then moments like Casablanca, the luggage, palm trees, the soup. It's very romantic and I think great for Dior.
John just, I think he loves He loves to travel, and I think he's very ethnic, and he's just open to so many different, things that come from him.
It's the real story of Pocahontas when Captain Rolfe settled in the Americas. It was the Powhatan tribe that tried to kill him, and it was Pocahontas, the very young Pocahontas, who threw herself over him in her wonderful doeskin dress. They fell in love, and they actually ran away to England, where she was rechristened the Lady Rebecca. So they were the influence of 17th century and Native America.
His clothes the most push. He obviously has a version that is more tamed down, more wearable for his prestigious clients. And everything is so perfect in his show. The hair, the makeup, the accessories. Sometimes the best way to see them. It's hardly reproduced in magazine as glamorous as it is in the show.
You may find yourself living in a shotgun shack. You may find yourself living in a shotgun shack. You may find yourself in another part of the world, in another part of the world, in another part of the world. And you may find yourself behind the wheel of a large automobile. You may find yourself in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife. And you may ask yourself, how did I get here?
The models love doing his shows because he lets them be actresses. He gives them a character, a little scenario for each one of them, what they're feeling, what their past has been like, and he lets them play, and they love that.
I love that he glamorizes something that we think only as ethnic. Indians, Moroccans. couture collections for Chanel. The things that make Paris, Paris. Everyone from Ernest Hemingway to F. Scott Fitzgerald, Picasso to Jean-Paul Sartre have spent hours lingering, laughing, loving, and practically living in the city's thousands of cafes. But the hottest cafe in Paris right now is not on a sidewalk, it's underground. Colette is spare, dark, and relentlessly hip. And instead of all those famous French wines, Colette pours water. Designer water and plenty of it. From such diverse locales as Scotland, Portugal, Australia, and Japan.
One of the greatest fashion success stories of all time can be traced back nearly 100 years ago to a young orphan with a formidable sense of style and a powerful personality, Gabrielle Coco Chanel. Having first caught society's eye by a string of successful suitors, the young Coco set up shop as a hat designer in 1909 and by the following year created her own couture house at 31 Rue Cambon.
Turning her back on the complicated designs of the past, Chanel set out to liberate women. She played with the best elements of her day and was the inventor of such fashion standards as the little black dress, a must-have even today. When she unveiled her petite robe noire in the 1920s, Vogue magazine compared Chanel and her invention to Ford's Model T.
And her first perfume, launched in 1921 and still a bestseller, was a slap in the face to the romance of fragrance, coming in a stark bottle with only a number for a name, Chanel No. 5. The fragrance was such a hit that World War II soldiers lined up on the Rue Cambon to take bottles back to the United States.
Chanel also single-handedly made designer into the superstar they've become today through, as you'll see in this interview, the sheer force of her personality.
Évidemment, c'est ce que j'ai cherché, c'était mon but. Créer un style, il n'y en avait plus. À mon sens, il n'y a pas de style en France. Il y a un style dans une nation toute seule. Il y a un style quand les gens de la rue sont habillés comme vous. Et je crois être parvenu à ça.
If Coco Chanel was all about innovation, it would be hard to think of a more worthy successor than Karl Lagerfeld. Since his first collection for the house, Karl's taken the traditions of Coco and sent them spinning. He stripped the tweed suits down to barely there bikinis, taken gold chains, costume jewelry, and Chanel logos to dizzying heights, and filled his runway with the rhythm of the streets, from black leather to denim to rap.
And Lagerfeld has taken the role of superstar designer and ran with it. With his signature dark glasses, span, and powdered hair, Lagerfeld is a media magnet, entertaining with his rapid-fire quotes in English and his native German.
And now let's go to the very Rue Cambon couture house founded by Coco Chanel in 1910 for Karl Lagerfeld's fall 1998 Chanel collection.
For me, Chanel is something very simple. It's her past and the moment. My own past in Chanel, I'm not interested in. I even try to forget it, because the world is changing, fashion is changing, I'm changing, people want other things, I want other things. So I hate nothing more than my own past. Designers who repeat their own style all the time are not exactly what I consider creative. I think they are boring. So I hate my own past only to make interesting modern future for Chanel. So for me it's Chanel then and now. In between I don't want to see. I will zap when you show that one.
With fashion becoming so theatrical, Lagerfeld's going in the opposite direction. He shows in his own couture house. He keeps it simple, but oh so elegant.
large skirts are on the top of the hips, like jeans nearly, and float. And the tops are floating too and never touch the body. And we call them camisole. And it's always with flat shoes, because with high heels, it looks a little ladylike. So it's, in a way, like a kind of sophisticated, minimalistic bohemian with no frills, no flowers, nothing. But it's not dry minimalism either. It's really a new, for me, new proportion. And I must say, I cannot say this is inspired by this. This is no history book and no package deal. It's a mood of an inspiration of something I think could be the next step after the fashion of the long tight skirts from this fall into another direction, because there was for many, many years no fashion of bigger skirts. Today, the most important thing in fashion, as well ready-to-wear and high fashion, is that things are light. Everything heavy, forget about it. That's for the costume department. And even if you design volume, it's up to you, especially in couture, to make volume weightless. It has to give a shape, it has to give a silhouette, it has to have an allure, but when you have it in your hands, it has to be like a feather. If not, it's not for today, it's old, it's démodé, it's not for reality, because high fashion is still something women wear. Chanel, they don't do only evening dresses for not existent balls. They do clothes for daily life of women who are lucky enough to have the money, to have the dresses made for their daily life, for their parties. But it's not only party dresses, it's really dressing a lifestyle. I like the detailing to be soft and not overpowering, because it then becomes aggressive, and aggressive fashion is not exactly what I consider modern for the moment. It's completely clean, and the shoes are flat. They're like tongues nearly, but they're close behind, because after all, in high heel sandals, women show their feet too, so they can do it this way too. And also the important thing is to make those large skirts modern is you can walk. In a long tight skirt, it's not that easy, even if there's a slit. But I like the idea that women can walk like they were walking on a beach or in the fields or I don't know where, with a total ease in those big skirts, and then the skirts are open in the back of a little petticoat so they can sit down without getting wrinkled. It's all sewed over in all kind of details, and it gives the freedom to the silhouette, what if you see it written without seeing it in a, or described in a magazine, it could look not as easy as it is in fact in life.
See, even the models, they have to exude some of the quality of the clothes. Here they seem more relaxed, smiling at the people looking at them. There is an art to modeling.
Mm-hmm. And also it's very modern. It's the way women behave today. They're freer, more relaxed when they're not confined in tight clothes and very high heels.
It shows that you don't have to be theatrical to be great.
Yes, I feel like I would like to own every one of these dresses.
Oh, see, that's the point. That's what they're trying to do, to tempt you. also chosen to use some of the supermodels, Amber Valletta, Shalom Harlow, Linda Evangelista, Naomi Campbell, Nadia Haubauer.
I think they all love to do Chanel's show because they love the clothes.
Oh, they certainly all love Carl.
Mm-hmm. We'd like to...
Welcome back to Paris and the Louvre. These gowns are part of the historic collection here at the Musée de la Mode, and they're open to the public. If you come to Paris, you should come see them. They have the biggest collection of haute couture ensembles.
Also, these gowns, of course, were only worn by the elitist few. But what do the rest of us do? Well, we're going to go shopping. Let's go with Danny Bear and see what she does about it.
I am a very stylish girl.
Haute Couture, the most beautiful garments created by the world's most talented designers, with price tags ranging between $10,000 and $250,000. But hey, who can afford that? And more importantly, can you even wear them off of the catwalk? So I've come here to the Galeries Lafayette, Paris's most famous department store, where one can buy everyday clothes for everyday lives. So let's go in and check out how the designers cater for both you and me. Even a tourist tax refund. I love it here. How do I look?
Very good.
The top designers that are going to be showing their couture shows this week also do their diffusion ranges, which are, for everyday folk like you and me, is a lot cheaper. How do I look?
Very good. I must say I'm amazed.
Put it this way, if I bought a dress for $250,000, it's staying in the house. It's not moving. It's actually going above the fireplace as an ornament.
A very stylish girl.
We've got Givenchy here on the left, who Alexander McQueen designed for.
A very stylish girl.
Here we are at Christian Lacroix, renowned for his bright colours and enthusiastic patterns. Let's check out a few of his garments. Bit of pink, which is the season's hottest colour. This is if you're feeling a little wild or funky, you want to bang on some oscillate. See, all this kind of gear you can wear. Couture is great to look at. Lacroix, $60. Jean-Paul Gaultier, France's most eccentric designer, I would have to say. Oh, a parfum. Like a bit of perfume. Mad bright colours, mad print. We're not talking mega expensive. Great colours, great print top. Very Gaultier. And it's 40% sale here. It's fantastic. How do I look? Some of these outfits I wouldn't even know how to put on. Terry Mugler, the most theatrical of all the designers, I think, and the most feminine as well. All his clothes are probably fitted with corsets or some kind of sculpturing to make your waist like a 20-inch, which is always good. We like a bit of that. This little razzmatazz number. Oh, my grandmother would love that. Very Hillary Clinton. We need to get Hillary down here. Leather. Don't even go there, because we know everybody loves a bit of leather. Oh, my God. Joan Collins, eat your heart out.
A very stylish girl. A very stylish girl. A very stylish girl. I am a very stylish girl.
You know what? I actually can't think anything better than getting paid to shop. I love my job.
Let's go shopping.
Not yet.
Well, we now go to one of the most popular designers working today, Christian Lacroix, who has made his reputation with work that is exuberant, colorful, and eclectic.
Christian Lacroix launched his house only in 1987. Haute Couture is where the designer got his start, how he built his name, and is clearly his passion. And now to the exquisite ballroom of the Grand Hotel, with its stained glass skylight that soars up several stories, for the latest couture collection by Christian Lacroix.
Couture is not a trendsetter anymore. When we started 10 years ago, couture was very inspirational for ready-to-wear. Now it's not a marketing collection, but almost that. And we just have to show that these clothes are impossible to be made in ready-to-wear. They need fittings, they need alteration, they need hours and hours.
So you have everything. You have your tights, and you have the shoes, and you have the dresses, you have the jewelry.
Everything.
We're all done. Are we ready? We ready?
I hope so.
I'm ready. Are you ready? Oh, it's okay.
feel like I'm in a movie. I love the music and the clothes. Feels like a movie.
Like I was born and raised in the southern French village of Arles, the same as where Van Gogh painted, and he has the same kind of color and drama. It's very Mediterranean, Spanish, bullfights, and the black lace of the 19th centuries. But then he blends them all together and comes up with something that is unmistakably Parisian.
This dress is incredible. I don't know how he did this, all this ruffling.
Clearly a dress that can only be made in haute couture.
He really has his clients, his fans, they adore him.
He's a very nice man. Everybody loves him.
When we return to Paris, we'll see the first and only American to design haute couture, Oscar de la Renta at Pierre Balmain. The Eiffel Tower has to be the strongest symbol ever associated with any city. Built in 1889 to mark the 100-year anniversary of the French Revolution, La Tour Eiffel is an aesthetic and engineering marvel. Soaring over 1,000 feet high, it was the tallest structure in the world until New York's Chrysler Building in 1930. And now, Anne Archer and Isabella Rossellini.
When Oscar de la Renta was first chosen as couturier for the house of Pierre Balmain 5 years ago, he became the first and only American to design for a couture house.
Dividing his time between the New York headquarters of his own house and the Paris headquarters of Pierre Balmain, Oscar was quickly dubbed the Concorde couturier.
Oscar concentrates on real clothes that real clients can wear. As a result, Balmain has one of the most impressive lists of clients around. In fact, the front row of any Balmain show is high society gridlock.
We go once again to the Grand Hall of the École des Beaux-Arts, the legendary fine art school, for Oscar's latest couture collection for Pierre Balmain.
I think that the most important statement about fashion today is really the emergence of a woman and expressing her individuality by the way she dresses. And she's not going to have anyone tell her what she should wear. So my role is really to suggest to that woman, to try to seduce that woman to wear what I'm making. But you know, there is not a specific rules. A lot of different things work.
I'll take the dog. He's so cute. I wonder if he comes with a dress. Oh, great.
They really are clothes that real women can really wear.
It's true. He really follows the tradition of the shows for his client. The dress, accessories, and makeup completely acceptable. Not extreme, not theatrical.
Exactly. Sensational.
It's beautiful, beautiful dress. And you can see that it is just easy for the client to say, I want that one. You don't have to reinterpret it for your own life.
Exactly.
Oscar talks about seducing. He is such a charmer. And his clothing is the expression of his charm.
From one of the great classics, we take you now to some of the most promising haute couture newcomers. But just how does one become a couture designer?
Either you're very talented, have had the good luck to be hired by one of the major couture houses, like Galliano at Dior or McQueen at Givenchy, or you have some patient investor who helps you start your own house, like Gaultier or Lacroix, or you better have some very good connection at the Chambre Syndicale.
Founded in 1948, the Chambre Syndicale organizes every aspect of Paris haute couture collections, including who is and who is not a couturier. Designers must meet a very strict set of criteria, and then they must be approved by a majority of existing couture houses.
Thanks to the Chambre Syndicale's effort to embrace new designers, and because fashion wouldn't be fashion if it didn't continuously change, there is plenty of fresh talent this season.
At his new Place Vendôme headquarters, Brazilian-born Osimer Versalato held his first couture show. The designer's evening wear is self-assured and very sexy. Dutch designer Josephus Teemister.
Everybody's looking for something to find, how to find his way through life. I think all that is reflected in our collection, and even if it's out of balance, which you will see this time, because we use like really rough things, unfinished things, but in the end it has to be harmony. It has to be like beauty.
Having studied at the prestigious Royal Academy in Antwerp, Teemister has a simple, modern approach to design. It's so fresh and new. An enormous teepee in front of the Pompidou Center was the stage for Adeline André's lyrical show. One of the only female couturiers, Adeline's work is simply poetic. It's just great to see some of the talent that's carrying haute couture forward.
No one has championed the causes of young designers like André Leontelli from Vogue. André, among all the youngest haute couture designers, who do you think is the most promising?
Josephus Teemister definitely took his entire career to another plateau with his collection, pushing it forward into the next century with a great collection in the last half of this century that totally addressed the needs of a customer. Beautiful coats, even sweaters, which is unusual in couture. Something like Norwegian fisherman sweaters that were just brilliant in sort of jewel colors of the Orient. Osimer Versalato, I thought, had a great collection for his first couture that it looked back to the past of courage and graphic linear lines of the 60s, and came forward to make a new kind of couture for a new customer that wants something not maybe so establishment, and maybe it doesn't cost a lot.
Well, this is great. Thank you so much for being with us
Okay.
When we return to Paris, we'll see a designer who always sends the season out with a bang. The outrageous Thierry Mugler.
It would be hard to come up with a more modern designer than Thierry Mugler.
Throughout his 20-year career, Mugler has filled his fashion with the flair of a showman. And he has packed his runway with star power.
While he may love fashion drama, Mugler's just as serious about design. Having single-handedly set the strong-shouldered silhouette of the 1980s, he's known as one of the most precise tailors around. Mugler's work is always cut like a knife.
Mugler's photography has been just as razor-sharp as his design, creating striking images in the field of Russia, on top of the Chrysler Building in New York, in the middle of the desert in New Mexico, and at the heights of the Paris Opera.
And he's also directed with equally spectacular results. His 1993 George Michael video, which recreated a Mugler show with some of the biggest supermodels in the business, was one of the most dramatic pop videos in recent years.
And now Mugler is breaking newer ground, the virtual fashion show, working with a team of animation experts. This process brings a computer runway to three-dimensional life, right down to the flip of the outfit's fabric and a model's snappy attitude. Mugler's virtual show takes fashion into the 21st century.
If I have to explain haute couture to the American audience, I will say that it's a service, and it's a research on the respect of the body of a woman and to try to make it the most beautiful possible. This year is more than ever an homage to woman's body, and with a great homage to the legs now that it will interpret Situis, the wonderful Situis.
Thierry Mugler reminds me of a designer that they would have had at MG.
Here she is, Situis, still working those legs and opening Mugler's show.
The theme of my show this season, the wild energy of nature, completely controlled by the sophistication of the arts and of taste. It's like a very extremely sophisticated lady with an energy of an animal. My inspiration is always the woman's body. The free way, the way she acts, and the attitude.
Mugler loves using celebrities in his shows, and here's Jerry Hall with her daughter, Mick Jagger's daughter, for the first time ever, like mother, like daughter. And she's got on her arm the tattoo, the logo of the Rolling Stones. Gee, Isabella, you think you could get away with that in New York?
I've gotten away with a few of those.
So dramatic. His collection is always so razor sharp, and yet this time a little looser and softer as well.
Generally, Thierry Mugler's silhouette is razor sharp, but it seems to have loosened up a bit. It's softer in this collection. hat seems to be inspired by Schiaparelli, who was a designer of the 30s and the 40s who was inspired by surrealist painters. This is the end of this beautiful collection, so creative, so inventive. All the theatre to me is in the clothes in Mugler's.
When we return, we'll pick out the highlights of the season with one of the leading fashion figures in the world, Liz Tilbury, editor-in-chief of Harper's Bazaar.
Revlon, products that keep their promises. That's revolutionary. And National Car Rental. So what are you waiting for? Let's go.
We are here in the studio with Liz Tilbury, editor-in-chief of Harper's Bazaar, one of the most acclaimed fashion magazines.
Thank
you. Liz, tell me, what are the highlights of the Haute Couture shows?
Well, there are highlights in every collection, obviously, but I think the highlights this time have been it's very romantic, but it's very pared down romance. So we've seen a lot of lace and a lot of embroidery and a lot of wonderful colors, but they haven't been quite so effusive as last time. There's a great elegance about this couture.
Who do you think among all the designers is the one that emerges as the one that did the best collection?
I'm not supposed to say things like this, and it's totally unprofessional, but I think that Gaultier and Chanel were the best collections, actually, because I think both of them pushed their pret-a-porter collections forward into couture, and we know, you want to see that they're moving forward. You really need that, and I think Chanel did a beautiful job of moving away from what we recognize as Chanel, and Gaultier had his usual sense of humor, so they were my two favorite collections.
Thank you so much, Liz.
We thought you'd like to know that this Haute Couture season was brought to a close in a unique and suitably stylish way with an exhibit and garden party at the Musée de la Mode et du Textile here at the Louvre. Although housed in the Louvre Palace, the Fashion and Textile Museum is actually an independent organization, meaning it's one of the only major museums in France that relies on private funding. Although the Musée de la Mode has the most important collection of historical fashion in the world, over 80,000 pieces beginning with the 7th century, its latest exhibit represents a brand new way of thinking. The museum's curators picked out some of the best design from the current ready-to-wear season, clothes that are being delivered to the stores right now. The 30 designs are then put on display, an exhibit open to the public here through September, and then become part of the museum's permanent collection. After the inauguration of the exhibit, guests from the French Minister of Culture to high-budget couture clients moved out to the courtyard of the Louvre. Although retailers do not sell haute couture, the most important buyers always come to the collections, hot on the trail of the latest trends.
This is it from Paris. I hope you enjoyed our show. I've seen this haute couture show for many years, and I enjoyed it so much. I knew it belonged to that little privileged elite. And now I am so pleased to be able to show it to all of you tonight.
We hope you've had as much fun as we have. We wish you good night from Paris. Bonsoir.
Air transportation provided by Trans World Airlines. Introducing Aviators, a frequent flyer program created to reward today's business travelers who take to the skies in order to take on the world.